friends. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. Welcome to another and almost daily walking vlog. Walking with J.Beau. Today we are going to do a woods walk. Because spring is springing. All the little leaves are trying to come out. Past couple of days it's been upper 40s with rain. Kind of damp and chilly. We had a little bit of a front go through. Now we're in the 60s. As you can see, the green is trying to green. It's trying, folks. Adjusting my belt. There we go. So the good thing about adjusting belts is oh, hi little doggy. Vicious killer dog. So anyway, the good thing about adjusting belts is sometimes you have to adjust them because you've lost weight. Which I have. So today, actually this morning, I woke up and the best time to weigh yourself is first thing in the morning. Preferably after your bodily functions. Strip all the clothes off, get on the scale. And that gives you your true weight. And I was very pleased to be at the lowest weight I have been since high school. Very happy about that. I lost some more weight because all the walking I've been doing. I mean, there's always more weight to lose, but I am right where I should be. Look at myself in the mirror, I can see my ribs, my pectoral muscles and shoulder muscles, all that, like I used to be able to. So I was pretty happy about that. So This was the first time I had weighed myself in a month and a half. something like that. 2 months maybe. It's not something I do a lot because I don't feel like I need to watch my weight on a scale. So today I'm just wearing a long sleeve shirt with a t-shirt over it. Gonna be in the mid 60s. I'm sure my brother might think that's funny because he's in the 80s today working in North Carolina. And if you've been warm for the past month, well, congratulations. Has not been the case here. Off and on over here. We haven't cracked 70 degrees yet, but I see on the forecast coming that that's coming soon too. So that should be nice. So I'll cross the street over here. And we'll start our woods walk. Had rain for a couple days, so that's kind of running off. And I don't like to see trash like that on the side of the road. All right, friends, this is Woods Walk Gun Talk number 16. Number 16. Well, we've had a couple of interesting happenings here in Maine with gun laws that passed. Pass on the information. First I'm going to discuss, well, I'll discuss that and then I'll discuss national gun issues. Well, anyway, as you know, the state of Maine passed the 72-hour waiting period to buy firearms, which is going to be sued, challenged. And they're going to approach it from the correct way, not from the point of view like people shouldn't have to wait 72 hours, but more on the denying gun rights to somebody that wants to protect themselves from a threat. And they have to wait 72 hours to get a firearm if they've never owned one. That is denying somebody their Second Amendment right to protect themselves, which it is. It should be easy to prove. The state of Maine Constitution is pretty clear. The right to bear arms shall never be questioned. It's exactly what it says. It's just one sentence. Never be questioned. So denying somebody their right to protect themselves is infringing on their Second Amendment right. Period. A lot of people were expecting the governor to veto that one, but she let it go into law without signing it. I don't know if she thinks that absolves her of responsibility and doesn't have her name on it. I don't know. But I can tell you it's not popular even with Democrat gun owners. They just desperately wanted to pass something, and that's what they did. So the response to that has been swift. Kittery Trading Post does about $11 million a year in gun sales in Maine. Said they're packing up if this lawsuit doesn't get anything accomplished, and they're going to move to New Hampshire, just a few miles from where they are. So it's not a big move, and they even have a shop set up in New Hampshire already to deal with New Hampshire customers that buy firearms, so they can get the background check done and all that stuff. Now here's the big catch. Why this wasn't good for Democrats to do this, because all you're doing is hurting Democrat gun owners, because businesses are going to go to New Hampshire. And you'd have to understand the region. New Hampshire is not far from Maine, 2-hour drive. So, more or less. It's about 80 miles to the border from where I am right here. Kittery Trading Post is literally 10, 15 miles, maybe 20 from the New Hampshire border. So they're just going to move to New Hampshire. And the thing is New Hampshire has constitutional carry. They have a better tax break, and they don't have a waiting period. And they're reciprocal to Maine gun laws. So you can go to New Hampshire carrying a firearm, constitutional carry, permitless carry. And so all they've done really is they've harmed Maine gun owners and gun businesses. So we got a duck that took off. I guess he doesn't like firearms. Probably a good reason. He's a duck. But anyway, so that was Kittery Trading Post officially announcing that. Gun Owners of Maine is filing a lawsuit against the state. So that should be in the works as well. Wait till these people go by. I don't talk about firearms around people. They get nervous. So we'll go up this way. It's a nice day today. So, what I was alluding to is they're going to file lawsuits. They may get a win this time. The other thing that's going to be sued, I'll get to in a moment, nationally, which may erase the law that Maine just passed. Private gun sales. So basically, I'm tired of the responses I get from Democrats when I contact them. It's always the same thing. Nobody's infringing on your gun rights. You just have to wait 3 days. Yeah, well, like I've already explained, the person who needs to protect themselves never thought they'd need to buy a firearm. They want to get one because they've either been threatened or something like that. Now they have to wait 3 days. So that's denying their right. Now, we'll get to Joe Biden's ATF in a minute. So they end up doing all this stuff in Maine with the laws, private gun sales. Joe Biden's ATF has just instituted a ban on private gun sales nationally. A lot of people don't even know that. I looked it up, and it expressly states selling or exchanging firearms for a profit. It's not a law passed by Congress, so there's no legal scrutiny in it, other than that's something the ATF thinks they can do because of a loophole, which they're going to find out they can't, which is let's say you go to the range, you try out somebody's handgun, they try out your handgun, and you go, wow,
1 mile.
I really like the handgun you have.
44 seconds.
And then this person goes, wow, I really like the one you have. And they're like, well, it's not really doing anything for me. You want to trade? And the person goes, yeah, okay. Now, that used to be legal nationally in states that allow it. And Maine used to allow that. Now they only allow it between family members in Maine. So, Attorney General Paxton in Texas, probably the best Republican Attorney General in the country, has filed a lawsuit jointly with the Attorney General in Kansas, who both have no laws on private sales. They said they're not gonna pay attention to Joe Biden and his ATF because it's an ATF rule. It's not a law instituted by Congress, and that's constitutional. So this is another vote-getting ploy by Biden. The courts will overturn it. And part of the legislation in Maine, the legislators were talking about like bump stocks. If the Supreme Court ruled that it was constitutional or unconstitutional to ban them, then the Maine law will not be able to go into effect. Well, the Maine law is not going into effect anyway because the governor vetoed it smartly, because I think she knows that's going to lose. Problem was, the wording in it made it so anybody that does a trigger modification to help your gun shoot easier, your firearm will be classified as a machine gun. They didn't call it a machine gun law, but that's effectively what it was. So the governor vetoed that, thankfully. It's like she's a progressive, but she's not Looney Tunes. And again, this is a state that has Democrat legislature, Democrat-led Senate. Now the House in Maine is led by a big lead of Democrats. A lot of them are blue dog Democrats from red districts, towns. So they don't usually support gun legislation because their constituents, the Democrats, go hunting, they own firearms. I've explained this 1,000 times on these walks. Just stating it again in case you're a new viewer. So they are kind of stuck in a quandary. Now we have this 72-hour waiting period in Maine, which Democrat gun owners are not happy with. But the Democrats had to pass something. They couldn't get anything passed last year. This is an election year. They had to produce something. For the Democrats who say, somebody please do something having to do with the mass shooting we had here in Lewiston. Well, nothing they passed does anything to resolve mass shootings at all. The guy who did it, Robert Card, had several firearms. 72-hour waiting period didn't do anything for that. He bought his firearms legally, so universal background checks didn't prevent anything with that. So getting rid of private gun sales affects a lot of things, especially gun shows, as does the 72-hour waiting period. So that effectively kills gun shows in Maine. Democrats aren't going to be happy with that. So I got some people walking here. I don't talk about firearms when I'm walking around people. Oh, that little girl's having fun. Now we're going to go up this way, check out the frog pond. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the lawsuits against the Biden administration. So to be clear, the bump stock rule and mechanically assisted triggers, as worded in the legislation, the governor said she couldn't sign it because it puts too many other types. It basically puts all firearms on a machine gun list, including shotguns. So pump shotguns, not even semi-autos. That's how foolish that is. So anyway, and that's what you get with a democracy. People come up with things, and then you have legal recourse when everything functions properly. But when you have liberally biased courts that aren't honest, that's pretty difficult. So we'll see what happens with the legal stuff. And excuse me. So the other thing is now if nationally, you know, that's really the thing with background checks, private gun sales, waiting periods. For Biden's ATF to institute a new rule out of thin air that is making up laws through edict, Biden's pen. That's supposed to be illegal, unconstitutional, because laws are made by Congress. So I fully expect that to be overturned, just like everything else Biden has tried to do with his pen, but he's trying to get votes. He's trying to tell his voters we care and we're trying for this election year. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Holy cow, there's so many eggs.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago there was frogs, hundreds of them in there spawning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can see all the eggs. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be a good spot.
Yeah, there's tons right there.
Yep, they're all over the place. They were busy a couple weeks ago.
Springtime. It looks like it. Yeah, look at all those freaking babies.
They were all floating around on the top of the water, creaking up a storm, like 200 of them.
Oh, David.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully you got to see that. Hopefully you could see that right there. There's a whole cluster of frog eggs. Another cluster there. There's going to be a bumper crop of new frogs. You can see them, all those fuzzy looking white things in there. And those over there are full of eggs. There are tons. There's going to be a gazillion pollywogs all over the place coming up. Very busy this year. Well, that's interesting. Trying to get like a close-up where you could see. Yeah, right here. Trying to find a good angle. There's a cluster there, right there. And I know there's a, maybe if I do this, you can see the eggs in my hand reflection, hopefully, in the water. Hopefully you catch a glimpse of that. So there's, looks like there's going to be thousands of pollywogs hatching. There's somebody here with a net. They left their net, and I'm going to take this because you're not supposed to interfere with the nature here. So I'm going to take this with me. So I'm going to head on down the yellow trail over here on Woods Walk Gun Talk number 16. We visited the pollywogs. So I'll get my walk-in down here. So yeah, I've been really happy about all the weight I've lost in a little over 2 years. I've calculated about 45 pounds. I think it was about 45 pounds I've lost. Maybe 40, closer to 40. Feel good. Wearing some clothes I haven't worn for a long time, which is nice, because I had some cool stuff. But anyway, so with the gun stuff in Maine, it's going to be interesting to see how the dust settles with the 72-hour waiting period, because it does deny somebody their Second Amendment right, and it also denies somebody's Maine constitutional right to bear arms. It said it shall not be questioned. And you got businesses talking about leaving, moving to New Hampshire, where, like I said, they have constitutional carry in New Hampshire, reciprocal gun laws with Maine. So you can go anywhere in New Hampshire, you can have a firearm in your vehicle, you can have one on your person without a permit. And so, not a wise move by Democrats. And you know, they were warned. They don't care. They really don't. They have an agenda. They'll say they don't. You know, I mentioned my senator and I mentioned Bloomberg money, and she was quick to defend that. No, it's not Bloomberg money. It's, you know, and I'll give them credit. They answered me. And it does come from her personally. It's a small state. I don't know how many messages she gets, but she takes the time to answer them, and it's not an aide, it's actually her. They're kind of like personalized there. So, as far as I know, I don't think they've slipped into being that obtuse yet. But anyway, that's what's going on, and with that stuff, it's going to be interesting how that shakes out. And you know, if you live in Maine and you want to buy a firearm, you don't want to wait 3 days, well, just make a day of it with somebody else and go visit gun stores in New Hampshire, buy a firearm there. There's no law that says you can't. It's not a, they're reciprocal with gun laws, so you can cross from New Hampshire into Maine with a firearm you bought in New Hampshire. Not a big deal. They didn't put anything about that in the legislation, so it just says you have to wait 72 hours to buy a firearm in Maine, which the reasoning from my senator who came up with this bill is because Janet Mills requested gun laws after the mass shooting, because they always like to capitalize on things, and she's already vetoed 2 of them. Actually, a 3rd one, the full-blown red flag law, didn't even get past the Senate. That died out. So they did amend the yellow flag law to more closely resemble a red flag law, but it still isn't a full-blown red flag law. It just gives law enforcement a little extra leeway to make their own judgment on somebody acting crazy, because it does take time to petition the court, get a warrant from a judge, that sort of thing, under the yellow flag law. So that kind of made sense. I just don't want to give them anything, basically, because they abuse it. But as we can see, this tree right here is old, very old. Big giant pine tree. It has survived a long time with a lot of things being done to it by nature. It's lost appendages over the years. And pretty cool. We've got a bunch of moss covered rocks down there. This is right in between, and like right here I'm stopping and insects are starting to pay attention to me. So pretty soon it's going to be mosquito season down here. And the best way not to get eaten by mosquitoes is to keep walking. They usually don't follow you. So, anyways, I'm just telling you that from experience of doing these walks. So, basically, I don't see why, you know, people just don't You know, like my brothers and I, if we're going to go shopping for a firearm, maybe we'll just go to New Hampshire. 2 to 3 hour drive there. Do some shopping. Most of the websites in New Hampshire, gun shops have websites. Pick out something you want ahead of time. Call up and say, yeah, I'm from Maine. I'm going to be over to pick that up. I want to make sure you have it in stock. And then make a road trip. It'll be a hassle. It'll cost some fuel, but you don't have to wait 3 days. If you don't want to, you know. Still, you know, like it's really not a huge deal for people like us who own a bunch of firearms to wait 3 extra days to go pick it up locally at an FFL. But if you don't want to, there's alternatives. If you're being threatened by somebody and you've never owned a firearm before, consider this a public service message. It is legal to go to New Hampshire, buy a firearm same day, do the FBI background check, and you should be good. Now this is a good walk down through this way, but that's usually the way I come here because I want to go through my usual area. Actually, you know what? I think I am going to go that way. Just because I want to do a woods walk gun talk. I want to finish talking about this stuff. And then I'll come back this way. So I'm just getting a woods walk a gun talk number 16. And as you can see down here, it's pretty swampy. This is like mosquito fest as we get this red-tailed squirrel buzzing about down here. Where did you go? Oh, there you are. Hope you saw that. It ran up a tree. So we got a lot of mosquitoes down here. As you can see, all this swampy area down here. This is like all summer long. This is a pretty nasty. Oh, there's a little squirrel. A bunch of little baby squirrels. I don't know if you can see that. Got a little red tail. I don't know what species of squirrel that is. It just has a reddish tail. It doesn't have those pointy red squirrel ears. All right, let's go up this way. Somebody coming. I'll be quiet about firearms. Hi. How you doing? How are you?
Good.
So that is a public service announcement for people that don't own a firearm and you want to get one. You don't want to wait 3 days. Let's go buy one in New Hampshire. There's no special process for a first-time gun owner. You just pick out something you want, buy it, and pay the FFL fee, do a background check while you sit and wait. 15 to 20 minutes later, you can leave with your firearm after the FBI says you don't have any warrants and you're somebody that's allowed to buy one. So, if you're a convicted felon, you're not going to be able to buy a firearm. But on the form you fill out when you purchase one, you'll be asked those questions. You'll also be asked if you smoke marijuana, or if you're addicted to drugs or have a drinking problem. And as Hunter Biden found out, you want to be honest on that. And just to let you know, a clarification, federally, if you smoke marijuana, you cannot buy a firearm. So it does not matter what the local laws are. In Maine, recreational use of marijuana is legal. Nationally, it is not. So when you buy a firearm, you're doing a federal background check. So there's no testing for that. So I will just leave it at that. I think you're smart enough to figure that out. So anyway, I think I'll just keep going this way, and we'll do our Woods Walk Gun Talk number 16 until I exit the park here. And so that is my Woods Walk Gun Talk number 16 talking points for today. Illinois is still up in the air. People are not complying. Government's not really doing anything to enforce what they said they would. And right now it looks like a stalemate. I really thought they were going to try to find some people to make an example of. You know, have informants at Trump rallies waiting for people to talk about firearms and then getting in on the conversation, trying to entrap them into admitting something so they can get a warrant and do a raid, make an example on a Trump supporter. Politically, that would be advantageous to them. Hopefully people are smart enough to know they would do that. And I think a lot of people are just going to play dumb, shut up, not talk about it. And they have created literally millions of lawbreakers with their stupidity. They just figured people would comply, and they didn't, by the millions. So they're not going to prosecute 12 million people that didn't comply. That's why I thought for sure they would make examples of somebody, just try to scare people into compliance. Do a media blitz. Yes, we're cracking down. Look at these 6 people we arrested. They're facing felony charges. They're going to get so many years in prison. You ought to just comply, because eventually you'll get caught. They're going to try that, I think. But it's an election year, so.
Miles. Time 47 minutes 46 seconds.
So I'm not wearing my earpiece, so you can hear the woman in my pocket. Is that a woman in your pocket, or are you happy to see me? Anyway. Walking on these trails, you know, 2 miles is a lot more work than walking in the city 2 miles. That's the other thing. I've mentioned that before on these walks. But if you are new to the channel, we are in Lewiston, Maine, at a nature preserve, open to the public. We got a lot of things like these rock walls, which are circa 1700s, 1800s, and early 1900s. And people, farmers mostly, or people that own property, would take rocks from their property, and instead of hauling them off by horse cart, which would be a lot of work, they just used them like this as property boundaries, property markers, to let neighbors know that this is the land boundary from that property as opposed to that one. So, and you'll see a lot of rock walls all through New England. It's not just Maine. And so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's been relatively dry lately. I know it just rained a couple days. We're actually going to have 3 or 4 days of rain coming up next week. So hopefully it's not a repeat of last year, because last year was way too much rain. It ruined a lot of the foliage in the fall. A lot of trees got mold, mildew, fungus, and trees usually don't get full of fungus here. But they did last year. And it is a beautiful day. Mid-60s, I'm guessing. I'm wearing a long sleeve with a t-shirt and I'm sweating pretty good. A couple days ago it was not like that, it was in the 40s. So we're gonna see what happens with these gun laws. You can see why Democrats have a really difficult time in a lot of states passing gun laws. And then other states, they get such a super majority that it's pretty easy for them. And even then, there's a process they need to go through with attorneys looking at it. And so what they do is they craft the state law ahead of time. That's what they've been doing in California. So then when people try to file a lawsuit, the circuit court says, well, this is the state law in California, so go fish. And so there's a lot of those shenanigans. Now they just they have a bill in California right now, actually. I think it's HR 6090, if I remember right. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's HR, House Resolution 6090 in California. That is, they already have a red flag law there that's pretty stiff. Now they're amending it to make it even more stringent. Just when you thought they couldn't do anything more, it's like, well, we got all this stuff passed, let's try to pass some more stuff. Because they can't just outright ban firearms in California because it's unconstitutional. It's like in their way. That pesky damn piece of paper. So they have made it where you can't buy ammunition on the internet. You can't leave your house with ammunition and your firearm together. So when you go to a range to go shooting, because you can't shoot outdoors in California anymore, you have to bring your firearm to the range, and you have to pay range prices for ammo, which I'm sure people are scalping, making $30, $40 a box of 9mm, while we're paying $10.99, $12.50. So, but people love shooting, and they're doing it. Anyway, this new amendment to their red flag law is now, if you talk on the internet, if you say something online, like, these people, Hamas, they should be taken out and blah, 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 okay? I'm not going to say what, because YouTube will probably censor my video. But it involves firearms and capital punishment. So now, if you say some kind of thing like that, and you live in California, that will be considered hate speech and threatening with a firearm. Now they have an excuse using that sort of thing to come and confiscate your firearms, just simply because you were pro doing something with a firearm. Rhetorically. Now you're just speaking rhetorically, all right? It's just rhetoric. You know, social media, if you say something, you'll trigger an algorithm where this person should be, you know, they should go get a N00ZE around their neck. I have to be careful with YouTube, speaking of algorithms. But you get the point. That is a rhetorical comment that now they can use as an excuse to take your firearms in California if it passes. So I think legally they're probably going to challenge that on First Amendment grounds as opposed to the Second Amendment as well. So California does have hate speech laws. So that's what I was talking about. They circumvent this stuff ahead of time by passing legislation to facilitate these crazy laws. And so, you know, as sad as it is, that's, you know, I'd like to say California is not our problem, but it is, because, you know, these legislators in Maine are trying to make Maine into New York and California without admitting it. They're not open about it. And you question them about it, and we're not infringing your rights. We're just regulating. And I've said this before on my walks. It's like, you know, in Ireland, you can own a shotgun, but I think you're relegated to a single shot. It's going to be 20 gauge or less. It has to be a certain type of shell and certain size of shot. And if you live in the city, you can't have one. You can only have one if you're on a farm. You have to prove that you live there. You have to have a license. So basically, they've taken your firearms away, okay? They can call it whatever they want, but that's what they've done. And Democrats are okay with that. They're like, well, you still have your Second Amendment right. What are you crying about? And my senator didn't like it when I told her that, but I told her the truth. We're not taking your rights away. Yes, you are. And I just sent my lawmakers 2 more emails. One shows the announcement by Kittery Trading Post in case they don't see it. And the other one was a couple of internet posts, Democrats who were upset and said they're just going to go to New Hampshire to buy firearms because there's no difference in what the laws were before they changed them here in New Hampshire. So there's really no friggin' point in doing any shopping in Maine for firearms if you don't want to wait. So, you know, basically also sent a screen capture of a couple of internet posts by Democrats saying they're concerned because they like hunting and they're worried that Democrats are going to change Maine into California and New York. So I don't think these people see that stuff. They're more attentive towards agenda, and their crazy constituents who don't own firearms and they want all firearms banned because they think they're evil. That's usually who these politicians hear from, activists. So anyway, just babbling about that. It's stuff worth talking about. And now pretty soon here, when I come walking here, I'm gonna have to be attentive to ticks. We are gonna have tick season anytime now. Usually the peak tick season is the end of May to the end of June. So we'll see what happens. And we get this thing here that says area under surveillance at all times. Where's that water noise coming from? There we go. Water noise is from water. So I don't know where surveillance cameras would be here, because I don't see any. Maybe it's just signs. Like when people put up those fake cameras that have blinking lights on them. Anyways, this is going to conclude the Woods Walk Gun Talk. Now I am going to go finish the rest of my walk. I get about another 4 miles. I've walked a little over 2 in here. So I hope you have a beautiful day, friends. And this is the little free library where you can take a book or leave a book. Books on bird feeding. So, hawks in flight. So you can take a book and share a book. So if you take a book, put a book back. Now I'm going to walk out of here, get the rest of my miles in. I wanted to leave on the other side of the park, and our walk took us in a different place today. So that's what happened with that. So I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the week. We are going to have some mild weather this week, mixed with some rain. There'll be a little of this, a little bit of that. Back to the, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes in Maine. There's other states where they say similar things. Probably true in most places, unless you're in San Diego, California. That is the sunniest, most moderate climate, best weather in the country. 80 to 85 degrees every day. It's not humid. Sunshine with a little bit of clouds every day. So thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful day, and this concludes the Woods Walk Gun Talk number 16. So if you want to keep walking with me for the rest of it, that's fine. But the Gun Talk Woods Walk is over. So the other thing I want to talk about is a really cool movie. I'll wait till the truck goes by because it's loud. It's a cool movie made in 1981. Probably going to say the guy's name wrong, but he was in Slapshot. He played Killer. Dave's a killer. That guy. Paul Gauser. Sorry, forgot his name. I've always liked him anyway. 1981 movie called Years of the Beast. It's free to watch on YouTube because I think it is a movie that has not had an official DVD digital release. Get some deer tracks here. A couple of them mixed in with dog tracks. I've seen deer out on this part before on my walks, but not lately. I'm just missing them. So anyway, the movie is called Years of the Beast. Has to do with the Book of Revelations. It is factually accurate to what is prophetically written in the Bible. Very interesting. Very good movie. Highly recommend it. Years of the Beast, it's called. Pretty easy to find on YouTube when you see it and it says 1981. You found the right movie. Couple hours long. I think it was made for TV, but it was made well. I don't want to, you know, a lot of times you say made for TV. Oh no. No, it's actually good. I had never seen it. I watched it last night and I thought it was fantastic. So we have pretty sad times coming ahead. I think everybody can see what's happening now. It's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. And if we ever have a national event where they declare martial law, and it's not Marshall like how you spell a Marshall, it's Marshall like M-A-R-T-I-A-L. And what that means is during a national emergency in the early 1950s, the Eisenhower administration came up with, and at the time Eisenhower is still to this day was probably the most popular president we've ever had, ever. 73% approval when he came out of office. He did a lot of good for the country, protected us from the Russians, blah blah blah, the nuclear and the Red Scare, blah blah blah. Okay, so get that out of the way. So they instituted legislation by Congress, and they have a procedure in the event of a national emergency that is of epic biblical proportions, which today God knows what that would be. They have the power. The president does not have the sole power. It has to be okayed by Congress, thankfully. But if the Democrats have control of Congress and the Senate, and they have the White House, theoretically, things that would classify as calling martial law would be a nuclear attack, domestic or foreign. So the first thing you may think of is what I think of. There's been two. Now, if you believe in fortune tellers or seers, like Nostradamus and all that stuff, if you're one that believes that stuff, they have all stated there's going to be a nuclear explosion in New York City. And the reason why they say New York City is the way they describe it in their prophecies is a place where nations of the world gather and things like that, which, you know, it's the UN. It's the UN, United Nations. Now, the United Nations is causing a lot of the world's problems right now, and I don't see it very far from within reality, where Iran's nuclear program doesn't have small nuclear arms that they would give a terrorist and help smuggle it into the United States through an open border and explode a nuclear bomb in New York City or multiple US cities. Think about that. You got a lot of these radical Muslims who like martyrdom, and if radiation killed Muslims, they wouldn't care, because they've been martyred for the Prophet Muhammad. They're very serious about that. So theoretically speaking, Biden's numbers are so terrible right now. And I've been watching people like Megyn Kelly and Bill O'Reilly, Tucker Carlson, a few other ones, discussing these sorts of things. And Biden's numbers are so terrible right now that if we had a terrorist attack, even if they couldn't determine it came over the border because it was open, because 70% of the public understands there is a border crisis, according to polling, Biden would get blamed for that. You're not going to see the rally around the flag like we did after 9/11. They have worn out that pony. And these young people today don't have that same sense of patriotism that we had. So Biden would be in trouble. He's in trouble now. So I'm still half expecting Biden to come up with a medical emergency and be forced to resign, whether he has one or not. Because I think the Democrats know they're not going to win. They're already trying to take steps to Trump-proof his next presidency. I think they realize these legal cases aren't going anywhere, and the public isn't supporting it like they thought they would. I think reality is starting to set in that this isn't working. And it's really funny because pictures came out of Trump. Now the media says Trump fell asleep in the courtroom. We don't have cameras in the courtroom, so we have no idea. Somebody snapped a picture of Trump in a chair with his head to the side and his eyes closed. Trump said he was just resting his eyes, listening to what was going on in the courtroom. The media says he fell asleep. My point of view is that the public really has not been riveted on these trials because they know it's a joke. And I think the Democrats are starting to figure out that this isn't playing the way they thought it would. We'll still have to wait and see, but I don't see anything changing with that. Right. So we'll go through that, see what's going on, and back to the nuclear explosion. If we had one of those, and think about how devastating that would be for an entire US city or more than one city. I mean, financially, how that would damage the country, how it would enrage everybody. Something like that. I don't picture the country rallying around Biden. I think they'll blame him for it. So if something like that happens, it's a guaranteed win for Trump. Personally, I think the polls are a lot closer than what is being reported by CNN. I don't know why CNN's reporting that. I don't know where they're getting their poll numbers. I don't believe Trump has a 6% lead on Biden. And I don't believe that because, hi baby. And I don't believe that because RFK getting into the race, CNN saying if RFK gets in it, given the new stuff that's come out where RFK has said some really bad things about Republicans and their voters. That just came out. I wasn't happy to hear about that. And so basically RFK Jr. is a Democrat, okay? He's not a crazy progressive Democrat, but he's a Democrat. He's openly denounced the NRA before, it said they were a terrorist organization. He did say that because they're facilitating mass shootings by allowing people to own firearms by filing lawsuits all the time. So the NRA files lawsuits all the time to preserve our gun rights and Second Amendment rights. And RFK Jr. is trying to say, well, he supports gun rights, but the NRA are a bunch of terrorists, according to him. So it's like you can't have it both ways. So CNN was saying if he gets in the race, whatever states he's in, that gives Trump a 9% lead nationally. And I don't believe that. It'd be nice if that was true. I think it's a lot closer than that. I think Trump definitely has the edge. But does he have a big enough lead to circumvent cheating? I don't know. All the cheating is done in Philadelphia, New York City, Los Angeles. I mean, Hillary Clinton got almost 4 million more votes than Trump in California for the national vote total, which really doesn't mean anything yet. It's still the electoral college votes, but they by the time the election was over nationally, Hillary lost that 4 million lead and only had 1 million more votes. I think it was 1,300,000. So she lost like 3 million votes nationally after she won in California. So she was not successful. She did win the national popular vote though. So that's the thing. Philadelphia is a big city. Pittsburgh, Dallas, Houston, all of these places are all very Democrat. They're, you know, Texas is a red state, but the biggest cities in Texas are all very blue. It's the way that is. Say somebody's having a birthday today. And you got birthday balloons. So we're gonna see what shakes loose. We're gonna see what happens. Hi. And so with that, what would a nuclear explosion in New York City do for Biden's numbers? A lot of people speculate there'll be a temporary rally around the president, like there was with George Bush after 9/11. Personally, I don't see it. And there's a lot of other people that don't either. It's not just me. I think he's old, he's scary, people are afraid of Biden. They would be more fearful of Biden in that situation. That's what would happen, I think. So hopefully we don't see anything like that. Now, if we see a terrorist attack, whether people came here from across the border or not, or it was jihadists that came over from Afghanistan, Middle East that we took in with stupid border policies, then Biden is done by a lot. Hi. Hi, doggy. All right, got some more walking to do. See where the hell I am on miles. 3.5 miles. I think I got a pretty decent restive route plotted out. I want to get my 5 at least. Anyway, Well, the bugs are awake today. Getting a little buggy. Trump flags hanging. So it looks like I did find an acceptable nighttime setting for my walks. Last night while I was watching, before I watched that. All right. .72 miles. Change the battery. Aimed my device. And we're walking again. So it is warmer today, mid 60s, low 60s I should say. No leggings today, just pants. I don't like my legs being cold when I walk. Oh. So we got 3 3/4 miles. And like I said, I'm very happy with my health. The only thing that bothers me, which still bothers me, and it's not catching a break by walking, even though it does make it a little better, is my lower back with the disc problem that I never had fixed. And sometimes my left hip burns. Sometimes it's quite painful burning, and it's nerve pain from pinched nerve and where that disc is. My left thigh has been kind of a numb sensation since 2008, when I had a neuropathy issue with celiac disease. I've explained that on here before, where I had numbness on the left side of my face, my left palm, my top of my left hand, the ball of my foot, and had some hearing issues. Some of my left side hearing is still a little messed up. And what I mean by that is my left ear does not produce as much lubricating wax as my right one. So I do have a little bit of a lip droop that nobody ever notices, as well as the top part of my eye. So I have a neuropathy on my left side. Sometimes I drop teaspoons or utensils or cell phones, or I've actually broken a couple cell phone screens that way. One time while I was putting a new protective screen on it, oddly enough, because I do protect my phone that way. But wouldn't you know it, while I was changing the screen, I dropped my phone and the screen shattered. So I ordered a new phone a little over a year ago. So anyway, we're continuing on the walk. Once I get going, things loosen up. But as soon as I just stopped to change the battery, it was hard to get going again because my left hip had needle pains in it. And it's not the hip joint, thankfully. It's the outside of the hip, the muscles. Very strange. But it's been like that for 20 years or so. And it's a lot better than it used to be. I think what really helped a lot was I played a lot of ice hockey regardless. I just played through it. My body kind of adapted. So I just hit 4 miles. I'm going to hang a right over here and head straight back to the ranch. That should give me close to 6, I think, for today. So, what we need to do as voters, we got to lose that attitude where my vote doesn't matter, because it does. It matters a lot. Every vote is very important. A good turnout for an election is 30%. So, while 70–80% of people complain about everything, only 30% vote. Now, can you imagine all the people complaining about taxes, rain runoff tax, and all this other stuff just decided to vote? Things would change. So they count on you being filled with being lax and not caring enough to vote. They depend on you to do that. And thus far, every election year, that's what they get, what they want. So you need to start talking to family, people, friends. I don't care if it's just texting, on the damn internet, private messages. Say, hey, you know, we got a lot of stuff going on. I think we should go vote. Start talking to people, create the chatter. We got to do something. We had a runoff election here in Lewiston, and the damn Republican lost by 121 votes, I think. That's it. Only 16% of the voters showed up for the runoff election. Lost by 121 or 129 votes. I forget the exact number, but it was that close. We almost had a Republican mayor because people aren't happy with things. But there's too many people that say, well, I'm not going to bother going to vote. If you don't want to go in person, it's real easy to do in Maine. If it's a state election, you can go to the stateofmaine.gov website, request an absentee ballot. Now, the absentee ballot in Maine, it's not like other states where you have a mail-in ballot, mass mailing. You need to be a resident, prove who you are, and your city clerk has to approve the ballot. So you have to be registered with the city clerk, which is fair. So for local elections, just call your city clerk or send an email. All the information's on your local city websites on how to contact your city administrators and clerk. You don't have to go to City Hall. You don't have to leave your house. They'll mail you a ballot. That easy. You can fill it out and just stick it in your mailbox for your mailman to pick up after you put a stamp on it. And that's it. It's really quite easy. There's really no reason not to vote. It's, you know, because a lot of people will say, oh, well, I'm busy all day. I got to hurry up after work. I got to do this. I got to go out of my way. And all right, well, then shut up when they take your guns away from you then. Because your vote had a say in that. Your non-vote. And it is true to some extent that not voting is a vote. You don't like any of the candidates and you don't vote, that's democratically your option. But if you don't like how things are, you know, you can make an effort to try to get other people to vote. So, anyway, turning out to be a nice day today. Yesterday, not so much. I'm gonna walk on down this way, cut down on Bro. Cut down on that street. So we're going to pass a car up here, this Audi. This Audi has been here, and the person drives it. This person drives it because it's always parked in a different place, and you can tell it's been driven. But if I remember right, the sticker on this car is like 2 years expired. Yep, 21, 22. That inspection sticker expired 2 years ago. I've seen a couple in the Walmart parking lot. One was a pickup truck. The entire rear quarters on both sides were just all gone, all rusted out. And cracked the windshield, had a windshield wiper missing. All the things that a vehicle will fail for an inspection sticker in Maine. And they were in the parking lot. No sticker in the windshield at all. It's not something that's really enforced. It's something they'll cite you for if they pull you over because you got a headlight out in some town, or you were speeding, or some other infraction. And then they'll go, oh, your sticker's expired, so I'm going to cite you for that, or give you a warning. I think they can give a warning if it's within 60 days of expiration. tractor. Doesn't look like it's been used in a while. Probably fixing it. That place there is, as far as I can tell, it's a lesbian couple. I see them out there sometimes. They work on race cars. So have fun, enjoy your life in Maine. Work on race cars. All right. Yeah, the other thing too about when you commit to walking is once you leave the house and you get to that halfway point, you can't turn around and go back, so you may as well just continue to finish. Like today, my left hip is not feeling very good at all. In fact, I can't wait till I get back to the house and sit down in the chair. It doesn't always bother me like that. But last night, the way I slept, the nerves in my back, when I woke up, it actually woke me up. I was sleeping in the wrong position and my back hurt when I woke up. It's been bothering me since I woke up. So, it happens. Then I'll be doing something, and something will pop back where it should, and then I'll feel better. Get the weed whacker maniac over there. It's like an electric weed whacker. I think today electric weed whackers are actually pretty good. Gasoline powered ones are a pain in the butt, but the electric ones, you just plug them in, charge them, and go whack your weeds. You're being recorded too. The camera talked to me, said I was being recorded. She said, "Hi, you are currently being recorded." Oh, they got the Trump signs out. They got a Trump flag, a US flag, and they got 2 Trump signs. 3. Well, I see 2 Trump signs. What does this sign say? America First, Trump 2024. So they got 3 Trump signs. I might put my Trump flag out. Hopefully somebody won't pour gasoline on the house and let it on fire. You never know with people these days. I read some of the craziest stuff on the internet. These rabid liberals talking about Trump. I don't even know where they get that information. They sound like fools. Literally. Sound foolish. I think the best video I saw this week, it was a guy from New York, has a second home, vacation home in Florida. So he goes to Florida. And I might have told this story on another walk. I just don't remember if I uploaded the walk recently, because there was a couple I didn't upload. So I'll just say it again anyway. If you already heard it, just humor me. So this guy from New York has a vacation home in Florida, and he was there with his girlfriend or wife or somebody, and the entire video is the police's body cam going to talk to him because he was caught on video keying somebody's car. Obviously a Biden supporter who's probably not happy about Biden's numbers. And things haven't been going good with prosecuting Trump. They all thought he would be in jail by now. He would be ended. Campaign would be over. I guess they just don't understand how things work. And so he was going to get some groceries, a few things, and he saw a black vehicle that said, with a bumper sticker on it, it was a Brandon bumper sticker, insulting Biden. Let's go Brandon. Well, he thought nobody was looking, and he keyed the car. Well, it turns out the vehicle got an estimate for a new paint job. It was a pretty nice vehicle. The paint job and body repair, because you have to strip all the paint off and fix the key scratch if you gouge the metal. Now they said he keyed it. He could have used some kind of sharp object, because they caused $6,000 worth of damage, the estimate said, to respray the vehicle. And which a good quality paint job on a newer vehicle, that's reasonable. Now the owner, I don't know what they had for insurance, doesn't matter. The point is that was the insurance estimate, I think, for the damage. So they showed up at this guy's place to arrest him and charge him with a felony in the 3rd degree. It is a felony in Florida to cause more than $1,000 worth of damage for property. Anything over $1,000 is a felony. So he was released on his own recognizance, because he's a first time, no criminal record. Thank you. No criminal record at all. And he just did something dumb, that's all. So we had one person there respect the law at a marked crosswalk, supposed to yield for pedestrians, and she did. So I waved a thank you, she waved back. So he got charged with that, handcuffed, put in the vehicle, had to sit in jail overnight. Said there wouldn't be anybody until the next morning before he went to see the judge in the morning. All because he didn't like a bumper sticker, and he thought he could just do that and get away with it. So it makes you wonder how many times he's done that previously and didn't get caught. Couldn't have been the first time. These people are very vindictive. I had a Trump sign on the lawn at the house, and after it was announced Biden won, it was a few days after that, somebody ripped the sign up, shredded it, and crumpled it up, I mean, and threw it in the backyard. So then I had another one for a Republican Maine governor, where that sign was stolen also. There was actually marks they left on the grass from where they stood and pulled it out. So, and that is a crime in Maine. I believe it is a $500 fine for theft of property. And that made the news cycle here, people's signs. One woman got busted. She had about 50 Trump signs in her car. She was just driving around pulling up Trump signs. She got caught on video, license plate, everything, her face. So she got charged for each one of those. I don't know what the hell she got out of it. But she didn't get away with it. The police and the media did a thing last election saying that if you're caught on video, it's theft of property. It's a crime. You will get at least a $500 fine. So a lot of people have security cameras installed. So anyway, just yabbing about that. I got my 5 miles in, the rest is extra. And I'll be glad when I get back because I've had just about enough today. It is a little warmer today though. This is that time of year I got to acclimate to the heat, which I'm sure my brother thinks that's funny because he's in the mid-80s today. Probably pretty warm. He'll come back here, it'll be 70 degrees. He'll probably feel like he needs a sweater. So he is going to be coming back within 2 weeks. So we'll go shooting. He's going to fly. In a plane, obviously. People can't fly. Don't be silly. So this feels like more effort walking today for some reason. Doing that woods walk. Took a little extra out because it's more work in the woods. Going up hills and stepping over things. Go back, have some liquids, some trail mix. The other thing too today is I might not be hydrated enough. That might be the other problem. Now that is another dead possum. Looks like he got his head run over. He got smooshed. I've been seeing a few automotive weights on the side of the road. Don't know what that's all about. I have mine on the inside of the rims out of sight. Not inside, but on the outside. Out of view. Those square weights. because when you clamp those weights on a rim, you damage the clear lacquer, the clear coat on aluminum rims, and I didn't want that on my car, so I've just had that on the outside. Well, the inner part to balance it. They look like little squares of metal, lead, about the size of bite-sized chocolate maybe. Whew, my stamina's not good today. I don't know what's up with that. Low on iron maybe? Might be dehydration. Not enough liquids. I drink a lot of coffee. Chickens are out. I don't want to have another chicken incident. Should be coming up on 6 miles any moment now. At 5.6, another 4/10. 5.6. We got all these leftover acorns from last year, melted out of the snow. Free deer food. That's where we were walking a while ago. For the Woods Walk, Gun Talk number 16. So anyway, I'll get back. I'll have some trail mix. I'll drink some liquids. Have a nice hot shower. And I'll be as good as new. Well, we almost had a rear end accident. Couldn't tell if that person turning's blinker was working or not. Might not have been. Which is why you shouldn't drive on somebody's rear end. All right. We're getting where we're going. Yep, the bugs are waking up. Now my brother in North Carolina sent me a couple pictures of bugs, weird looking moths down there. So they got weird looking birds and they got weird looking bugs down south. Not a fan. I don't like bugs. So the other thing I noticed is the last time I live streamed on YouTube, I used the YouTube Studio app. I believe that's what I used. I want to try streaming with the Prism app, because when I use my phone without an app, the stabilizing thing built into the phone works very well. I tested that last night. So with a live stream though, it looked terrible. So I don't know why it did that. So I gotta investigate that, see if I can get it to be just being able to use my phone settings rather than the app's camera settings. Can't stream without a stabilizer. Gotta have a stabilizer if you're walking. Just got to. It won't work otherwise. And the thing is I used that stabilizer at night last night and it looked great. So my phone camera actually works well for that. But it's the app it's gonna go through. So I gotta figure that out. There's got to be something I could tweak and fix. More bugs out of my face. That's the other drawback of wearing a cap with a visor. Thanks. Is while it keeps your nose from getting burnt from the sun, it gives bugs a place to hang out, literally. And they like it when you sweat. So here's another one of those big Lincoln Mercuries where they have that type of suspension that you have to do something to the suspension when you put it up on a lift, or else it screws it up. And then the car sits as low as possible after. And that's what happened to that car. The other side actually looked worse than this side, so they got something mechanically wrong with their Mercury suspension, which when working properly feels like you're floating on air. Anyways, that'll just about conclude this walk today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a beautiful day, evening, and we'll see you on the next walk, friends. Thank you very much for walking with me today. Have a beautiful evening. Bye-bye. See you in the next one.